I wasn't exactly sure if I was going to make this video, because this one poses significant risk. I've complained a lot about YouTube's changes and policies, as have we all, but these changes are getting more and more serious, and they're getting more and more scary, and at this point, we legitimately have to say something. This isn't as stupid as a Google Plus integration. This is serious business. I was going to drop the F-bomb in that last statement for grammatical effect, and to make the sentence a little bit more poignant, but I cannot do that without more risk than I'm already taking. And this video isn't just going to be about YouTube, it's also going to be about Facebook, and it's going to be about Twitter and Reddit, but this video isn't really about any of them either. This is more about freedom of speech on the internet, and the question of what a private company is allowed to do, and more about what a private company should be allowed to do. Like, already we have guidelines and rules. A company cannot, say, prevent a black person from working for them just because they're black. Companies can't do everything. They need to follow laws, and they need to follow guidelines. And at this point, I think we do need a special kind of law against what is happening on these websites. If you're subscribed to Philip DeFranco, or a few others, you could probably guess what this video is going to be about. If it's not, I'll link to his video here. What they're doing is demonetizing videos that are deemed not advertiser friendly. Keep in mind that this has not happened to me yet. It might happen after I make this video. Who knows? I'm saying this because I want to make this very apparent that I currently have no vested monetary interest in this topic. In fact, talking about this topic actually risks me losing monetization in several videos. So, I guess the place to start is by saying what YouTube finds as not advertiser friendly. They can straight out demonetize a video for these topics, even if it's just a vlog talking to webcam with no copyrighted content whatsoever. Content that is considered not advertiser-friendly includes, but is not limited to, which means we could do this for pretty much anything that we want to, not just these topics. Sexually suggestive content, including partial nudity and sexual humor. Violence, including display of serious injuries and events related to violent extremism. Inappropriate language, including harassment, profanity, and vulgar language. Promotion of drugs and regulated substance, including selling and use and abuse of such items. Controversial or sensitive subjects and events, including subjects related to war, political conflicts, natural disasters, and tragedies, even if graphic imagery is not shown. This is straight from the website. Scared yet? No? Well, that's fine because we have a lot to talk about. Let's start with the pitiful excuse that they're using. Not advertiser friendly. Okay, let's break this down one by one, standard by standard. Let's see how not advertiser friendly these topics are in the real world. Sexually suggestive content including partial nudity and sexual humor. Sausage Party, which was sparked by the joke, hot dogs kinda look like dicks, has grossed over $60 million, and it is still in theaters, still grossing more money. There's no telling how much it's going to make on DVD, but it looks to be quite popular. Violence, including display of serious injury and events related to violent extremism. Isn't Game of Thrones like one of the most popular shows out there right now? How is that not advertiser friendly? Inappropriate language, including harassment, profanity, and vulgar language. The fucking Wolf of fucking Wall Street grossed $150 million 3 years ago. Beyond that, there's South Park, Family Guy, actually, you know what? Every single show or movie that is rated anything higher than PG. Between this one and the last one, it's been pretty much the top grossing movie between the last 10 years. Promotion of drugs and regulated substance. Family Guy has had an entire episode specifically stating the wonders of pot, a drug/regulated substance. It still has its audience and it still has its advertisers. Controversial subjects and events. I forget, what's the most popular adult cartoon right now? Oh, that's right, South Park! Which has its entire existence doing basically just that. And it still has its advertisers. Also, isn't Zootopia the second highest grossing movie this year? About prejudice? Made over $1 billion, but not advertiser friendly. It talks about a controversial and sensitive subject. But let's leave all the joking behind us. YouTube is going to have to enforce this selectively. It's only logical. Or they're going to need to get rid of almost every single billion-plus channel they have. Inappropriate language. That's not advertiser friendly, which is why the AVGN is one of the most long-lasting channels and has over 2 million subs, and has been on YouTube for over 10 years now. But if this is the standard that YouTube wants to go by, unless it's a hypocrite, it is going to have to demonetize all of his works that contain inappropriate language, including harassment, profanity, profanity and vulgar language. Oh, let's see, controversial subjects. How many YouTube channels talk about the news? Which is, by definition, controversial or sensitive. Unless YouTube enforces these points across the board, I cannot see them as doing anything else but behaving unethically and going out of their way to hide opinions that they do not like. The advertiser-friendly excuse is bullshit on the face of it, and I am disgusted that they are using this as an excuse. YouTube grew and built itself on the very criteria that they are apparently now trying to distance themselves from. The last standard is the most controversial, and for very good reason. I'm going to make it apparent why in a very simple method. Displace that standard in time. 10 or 20 years ago, talking about supporting gay marriage would be considered a controversial or sensitive subject and event, and YouTube would demonetize it. 50 years ago, criticizing the Vietnam War, and that 18-year-olds were being sent into a war that they cannot vote for, would be considered a controversial or sensitive subject or event, and YouTube would want that off of its website. I'm saying all of these because most arguments for this have to do with morality. We're trying to hide the homophobes, the racists, the whatevers. That excuse doesn't fly. This standard is also the most controversial because it's the most liable for YouTube to enforce. They've done this much more than the inappropriate language one, which is far more common. And they have done it selectively and intentionally to opinions that they do not like. I could talk about censorship too in this video, but I'd like to stay focused. There'll be more time for that. But I can give an example of how this is really, really bad myself. Me making this YouTube video right now. Why wouldn't YouTube demonetize this video for being a controversial or sensitive subject? And then why wouldn't it go into my other videos, turning them into sniper fire for inappropriate language? Speaking freely is why YouTube is so popular. It's why Facebook got popular. It's why Twitter got so popular. So what? They're just getting demonetized. It's not like they're getting banned or something like that. On some level, demonetization is actually worse than just straight up banning them. If one of these people gets banned, there'll be campaigns and there'll be people trying to talk and trying to get the channel reinstated. However, demonetization is a lot more quiet. Say that there's this news channel. There are two stories available. One of them supports the opinion of the website, and one of them goes against the public opinion, and against YouTube's opinion as well. The news channel knows that they will get demonetized for talking about it, so if they want to be paid, they'll basically have whichever news bias that the website has, and they'll never be able to point it out without risking lost revenue. This is like the Twitter Trust and Safety Council, except it's a lot worse. But I don't know why I'm singling these two out. Facebook, Reddit, they've all got severe censorship issues, especially as of late. I talk about specific issues, but I can't because I can't talk about controversial topics. It doesn't matter if I don't actually believe that Dungeons & Dragons gives people satanic powers, or that my next door neighbor's a communist, or that video games cause school shootings. Those go against the majority opinion and they're not advertiser friendly. But here comes the crux of the matter. The ultimate defense. The ultimate excuse. These are private companies. They can do whatever they would like. Very strange for sites and people they claim to be left-leaning, because that's a very right-leaning opinion. And it's really ironic, as these sites are rumored to be censoring and burying right-wing opinions. But let's really examine this statement and why it doesn't work in the real world. Remember a couple years back, we had the argument about net neutrality. Comcast, Charter, and other ISPs wanted to start charging different websites for premium, quicker access. Wanted? I mean, they actually did it behind everyone's back. Comcast slowed down into connections to Netflix, one of their chief competitors, and Netflix was forced to pay a sum to get connections back where they would have been if they weren't in competition. Everyone was up in arms because that meant that the ISPs and the big companies that could pay them could use this ability to crush competition before it could spring up and get a stranglehold on the internet, like large department stores got a stranglehold over real-world businesses. It took the government FCC stepping in and changing them into common carrier services, similar to phone lines, where the company could not selectively charge people. If you believe that companies should be able to do whatever they want, especially in this scenario, in the strictest sense, you are against net neutrality and you should have never fought against it in the first place. This situation bears a remarkable similarity to the net neutrality situation. Big companies like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, using an excessive amount of power to stop competition from popping up. The only difference is that now it seems to be based on political opinion. I'm generally averse to excess government legislation, but I think that in this case, it's necessary and required. Social media platforms have become a special thing. Like the telephone became a special thing. Like electricity is a special thing. Without it, your life is at a disadvantage. An almost unreasonable disadvantage. And I think that social media platforms should have a special classification where the platform should not be allowed to attack free speech in any way whatsoever. Social media companies should not legally be able to examine the opinions of the words spoken, nor should they determine if such a thing is advertiser-friendly. Advertiser-friendly internet content is a myth. Websites that exist solely for piracy purposes, which are strictly illegal in almost every country in the world, are advertiser-friendly enough to get ads. But what about spammers and trolls and such? This doesn't inhibit a user's ability to block and ban at their leisure. In fact, such a thing may be imperative to protecting the system, as a more unpopular opinion is more liable to get trollers and spammers. It's becoming more and more apparent that social media platforms need to be forced, legally forced, to adhere to freedom of speech that needs to be enshrined into law. Most of the arguments against this, I'd imagine, are arguments against freedom of speech itself. And the answer is the same. Criminal harassment is still an offense you could be arrested for. Most things against freedom of speech are already against the law, and that wouldn't change on social media platforms. I'd recommend that you write to the FCC and tell them that we need a special classification for social media sites that forces them to adhere to freedom of speech. At this point, not even the free market can argue against that, as big companies being able to do whatever they want is screwing people over. And this is just the start of a massive widespread destruction that's going to come. These platforms have grown so big that you cannot compete with them unless you start on their websites in their control. And even then, they might fall like blip. There's so many topics to talk about, but I don't know. I can't. They're all controversial and YouTube just has my tongue tied.